Well, hello, boys and girls. Boy, do I have an exciting story for you today. But first, have you ever seen a hot air balloon? Have you ever been up in one? Um, you may have seen one more than you went up in one. But if you've ever seen a hot air balloon, they lift up off the ground because of hot air. They lift up because of fire that lifts it up. And once the air cools down, it starts lowering again. It's a very fascinating sight. So, I want to share you a story today about Hot Hair Henry. It's about a magnificent cat that wanted to go on a hot air balloon. And our story starts out. Henry wanted to fly. Everybody in his family had gone up with the balloon. But the man always declared, "I'm not flying with any type of cat." The man had been taking pilot lessons. And this time he was going solo. That means by himself. Henry grumbled and his tail switched as he watched the people crunch around on the crusty March snow. The kid and the woman held open their mouth of the colorful balloon while the man blew it up with a gasoline-powered fan. Then the instructor blasted warm, hot air into the balloon from the burner mounted on the frame below it. "Watch your fuel gauge," he told the man. "You don't want those propane tanks to run dry. And stay away from those power lines on Colossal Hill." At last, the beautiful balloon stood fat in the air. The woman and the instructor loaded the fan into the truck. The kid held down the basket while the man jumped out to get his camera, which he had forgotten in his truck. Henry saw his last chance to stow away. He raced across the snow and leaped up into the basket. One of his claws snagged on the cord that fired the burner, and there was a horrible roar. "Grab that cat!" yelled the man. The kid lunged for Henry and slipped on the snow. The burner kept roaring. Flames heated the air, and up rose the balloon. And so did Henry. Up, 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 and away. Henry was flying. He shook his claws loose from the cord and the burner stopped roaring. But the balloon kept on lifting, going higher and higher. Henry crouched down on the leather rim of the basket, digging his claws in really tight. Below, the ground fell away, and the people shouted and waved. Yet the basket didn't feel as if it were moving, and Henry wasn't afraid. "Meow, meow," he called down to the kid. He was Hot Hair Henry, the flying cat. The balloon surged up into the sky. Looking down, Henry saw the river like a black ribbon winding beneath white fields. The kid and the man looked small as to the cat. The balloon drifted silently as a cloud, and Henry loved the glorious bubble that carried him across the sky. Balanced against the post on the rim of the basket, Henry floated above the snowy world to a tune of the kids about sailing, sailing over the bounding main. Henry sang, he was a cat to sail the skies. But now he had his flight, and it was time for the man's turn to go solo. Time to go down. But how? Henry stood up and tried pulling the cord. The whooshing roar of the burner scared him and tottered on the edge of the basket. To keep from falling, he clung to the cord, and the burner kept roaring, and the balloon kept going higher. That was not the way to get down out of the sky. Henry hopped to the basket floor and searched for something to push or pull that meant down. But he saw nothing. Not a thing. Standing on his hind legs, he peered over the edge of the basket. He couldn't see his people anymore, and the balloon was sailing towards the mountains, where Colossal Hill was with those power lines. Oh dear! Henry glared up into the bright cave of the balloon. "Come down now," he yelled. Then he saw a cord leaning down from the balloon. He could reach it from the rim of the basket. When he clawed the cord, he saw a little hole of sky open in the balloon's cloth. As air spilled out, the balloon began to sink. Faster and faster, the basket dropped towards the ground too fast. Henry let go of the cord. More slowly, the basket sank towards the river. Black rushing waters. Oh no! A splashdown? No! The basket crunched on the snowbank. Ha! Breathed Henry, but the basket bounced up into the air again, touched and bounced over the snow. "Stop it!" Henry yelled at the balloon. "I'm not a yo-yo!" Ahead were some willows dotted with blackbirds singing, "Okali, okali." The basket bounced over the tops of the trees, brushing out birds. Tick, 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 tick. The red wings swarmed around the basket. Henry snatched at his bird. That bird. He missed, and he missed again. The birds whisked upwards, teasing, "Okali, okali, you can catch me." Henry forgot about landing. "I can too," he yelled. Standing on the rim, he pulled the burner cord. Roar! The basket zoomed after the birds. Henry chased blackbirds up into the sky. But the balloon overshot the birds, and they settled back down in the willows. But the balloon, it kept sailing onward towards the mountains. The wrong direction. Away from the man and the kid. "Go back!" yelled Henry at the beautiful bubble. But the balloon went where the wind took it. Below, a lazy eagle coasted on the air current, flowing in the right direction. Maybe if the balloon dropped just to that level. Henry crept around the rim of the basket and pulled the air-spilling cord. Slowly, the balloon sank and began to come around. It didn't take off after the eagle like the tail of a kite, but it was going more towards the kid than away. Henry sang out. He'd show that balloon who was boss. He, hot air Henry, would bring the balloon right back where it started from. He towed his way along the rim and pulled the burner cord just a flick to keep the balloon from dropping too low too soon. At the roar of the burner, the eagle flapped up in surprise. "What in the sky?" screeched the eagle. The big bird circled the fat contraption. Henry watched anxiously. The eagle better not peck a hole in my balloon. Snow! Henry hissed. Scat away from there! He made the burner roar. Help! Squawked the eagle. What a cat to roar like that! The eagle winged away from the fearsome feline. Henry sparred a paw to smooth his whiskers. Then he peered down, narrowing his blue eyes at the brightness of the snow. Below on the road was a truck, and the kid's head stuck out of the window. The chase truck was following the balloon. Wow! Right now, sang Henry. He got over the ripcord, spilled air, and the balloon dropped. Just then, honk, honk, came a squadron of geese flying straight at him. Honk, called the geese. Honk, honk. What did they mean? Honk. He would not get out of their way. The V of the geese broke up around the balloon, and they rushed up and down, squawking. But the head goose sat down. He sat down on the edge of the basket by the burner cord. Hissed Henry. Get out of my basket! You can't perch there! I can too, said the head goose, perching there. The balloon kept sinking. Hey, cat! The kid shouted and made Henry look. The basket was headed for some high, strong power lines. At last he'd found Colossal Hill. He had to fire the burner to lift quickly, or he'd sizzle in the wires. But the goose guarded the burner cord. Henry started towards the goose. Yes! Answered the goose, hunching its wing. Henry had never fought a goose, and he didn't like to try for the first time, while balancing like a tightrope walker, but he had to fire that burner. Henry sprang over the goose's head. He leapt onto the goose's back and clawed the cord, and Henry flew over a sharp nip of a beak at his tail that made him yowl. Ow! But when the burner boomed, the goose jumped into the air, and Henry fell off of its back onto the basket, which soared over the power lines. Henry licked his throbbing tail, while the geese regrouped and flew on. Honk, honk. Then Henry pulled the ripcord to bring the basket down. The kid and the man jumped out of the truck. The basket bounced once over the snow towards them as Henry hung to the air-spilling cord. The man grabbed the dragline, then the basket. Meow. Henry drooped against the post. The man might be mad at him for going off with his balloon. Henry leaned his head onto the man's chest. Purr, purr. He begged pardon for soloing sooner than the man. Wow, some high-flying cat, said the kid, punching down the balloon's cloth. Purr, purr, said Henry, smoothing the man's chest. Wise old flying cat. Oh, boys and girls, wasn't that a fun story? Now, what could we learn from a cat in a balloon? Well, to make it go higher, you have to add hot air. To get it to come down, you have to release some air to cool it down to come down. Now, every day, we are very much like a balloon. We like to have our spirits lifted. And what is that we do to lift someone's spirits? That's by paying them compliments or doing nice things for them. As we pay compliments, we fill them up and they lift higher and higher. Hasn't that ever happened to you? When somebody has said something nice, hasn't it made you feel so much higher that you could soar above the clouds? But then there's times when you feel down, when somebody may say something bad to you, or when you haven't had anybody compliment you, and then you start sinking down. Well, when you come down, guess what? You can go up by having people pay compliments, by doing good deeds around for other people that will comment on how good you are. We need to do that for other people to help them lift their spirits. Right now, there's a very sad time. We're not getting out much, and so a lot of people are feeling down. They're not being inflated. They're not getting a lot of hot air to fill their balloon to lift them higher. So it's our job to go out there and help lift their spirits. If you can't see somebody, write them a note. Take a picture of it. Post a note outside your house saying, just think, thank you, or thinking about you. All of these things can help lift people's spirits, just like our hot air balloon. Well, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me for another story. And like always, I will see you later. Bye.